Hi, I have chosen tutorials point link for the introduction to triggers. A trigger is a statement that a system executes automatically when there is any modification to the database. In a trigger, we first specify when the trigger is to be executed and then the action to be performed when the trigger executes. We further have a look at the benefit of triggers, that is, it imposes certain integrity constraints and referential constraints that cannot be specified using the constraint mechanism of SQL. This link even tells about the syntax of triggers. That is, a trigger is enclosed between a begin and an end tag. We also discuss about the type of triggers such as row level triggers, column level triggers for each row type and for each statement type. In the end, the discussion in this link is ended by discussing some DML operations on a certain table. That is, to how to implement a trigger on a DML statement.
Deeper understanding of how trigger worked, it is important to know what are the advantages and disadvantages of SQL trigger. I chose the MySQL tutorial link because it highlights the most essential merit and shortcomings of trigger in a clear and condensed way, which is important if you are studying SQL for the very first time. Talking about advantages, the tutorial links talk about how trigger provides an automatic solution as they are invoked immediately after an update is made to the table. And subsequently, when it comes to the shortcoming, the link talks about how it is invisible to client applications and how it might be difficult to follow their logic without any documentation provided.
I have always believed and experienced that examples make the process of learning a lot easier. This document is filled with examples of trigger applications along with theory and the codes for the same. This is an Oracle document which starts with the guidelines to follow when designing triggers. For example, use triggers on database judiciously as they are executed for every user every time the event occurs on which the trigger is created. The document then covers the theory about how to create a trigger, the different types of triggers available, and the intricate details such as the system triggers on database or schema. Next, it tells us when is the trigger fired, how column lists affect update triggers, and how to control when a trigger is fired using before and after options. It tells us about the ordering of triggers and trigger evaluation order before explaining in detail instead of triggers with examples. This is followed by in-depth description about restrictions on creating triggers and privileges needed to work with triggers. Lastly, the document covers the examples of triggered applications and where they are commonly used, for example, to prevent invalid transactions, to provide sophisticated auditing.
Use of SQL as a programming language. The above website provides understanding of PLSQL concepts and also helps us giving brief knowledge about PLSQL. It discusses about its features, its pros and cons, and it also helps us to set up environment in our computers. It introduces us with the basic data types and syntaxes used in PLSQL. On the whole, this website is a great Kickstarter for a beginner to, to learn PLSQL.
I have always felt that just understanding the concept isn't enough. One should also know its implementations and applications. And hence, I selected this URL because rather than just focusing on the theoretical part and conceptual part, it offered more concrete and technical point of view on subjects, and that too in a very structured way. In very simple and easy to understand ways, it conveys how PLSQL, not being a programming language, allows us to create procedural extensions which extend it to functionality of a mature programming language. In the end, it presented solutions to some general programming problems which further brought clarity to this concept.